let's get ready for some more engaging content. So I know a few of you are still enjoying your lunch, so please continue to do so. For those of you that I have not had the chance to meet yet, my name is Tim Vandermel. I'm one of the senior technology advisors here at C3. And today I have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker. He's going to be talking about realizing business value with AI beyond the hype. So with us today, we've got Ram Visvanathan. Yes. CTO of AI at Rackspace. For those of you that don't know anything about Rackspace, Rackspace Technologies provides managed cloud services, helping businesses design, build, and optimize their multi-cloud environments across various platforms. Ram, take it away.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's after lunch, and it's quite dark here. I hope there is some activity that can grab your attention. If I can request all of you to stand up. Maybe loosen a little bit. Take your seats, please. Thank you. Thank you. So, I have about 30 minutes. I have a few slides and a demo. I'm not sure about the demo. Depending on the time that's available, I'll show some of the work that we have been doing internally. What I'm going to be talking about is, at Rackspace, we have been doing this work with our clients and internally for over 7 quarters now. All of us have heard about GenAI and how it came into being, right? ChatGPT burst into the market space, and then there was tremendous interest. Since then, there is some kind of a gold rush that's happening around this for a variety of reasons. First, discovering what is this whole cool thing that's all about, number one. Number two, how can I use it for my business? Can I play with it? And then what are the use cases? People were doing POCs and proof of technologies. It was just a new toy that all of us always have eager to lay our hands on and do something with it. But now organizations are moving beyond that, saying, hey, what is the return on investment? I have played with it, it does something, it responds. I don't know whether it's responding well or not, but how do I use it for my business? How do I use it to optimize my client experience? How do I optimize my internal processes? How can I come up with newer, innovative products? That's already happening to some extent in the consumer space. If you open your mobile apps, almost all of them will claim to do something in AI. But when it comes to business to business, that is, how much of AI is getting infused? There are a variety of challenges. We'll talk about some of them and also share some of the experiences that we have had working with our clients and working internally with AI. So here we can look at AI adoption, GenAI. I've been in the industry for about close to 4 decades now. Started out in IBM mainframe computers and then grew through the ranks. Had the pleasure of working in some of the Watson technologies before joining Rackspace. Before that, there was this famous chess game that was also done. So AI as a technology has been in experimental stage for a long time. But with the Gen AI, things have burst into the open now, and everybody is eager, and there's tremendous potential. Along with that, the networking technologies, the mobile technologies have also matured to a level where there is more and more compute power that's available. Anyone who is looking at the NVIDIA stock will know where things are heading, right? There's more and more power that is coming along the way. There is more and more of innovation that's happening around neural networks. And I think the possibilities are endless with where GenAI could take us. Most important in all of that is how do we use AI, GenAI, ethically and in a manner in which it provides return on investment for our business. We all know this to a large extent. It started out with some regression models in some university labs and in some research organizations. And then the neural networks and the ability to combine those two, put together to create these token-based delivery of what next came in quite high. And that's where OpenAI, and there are several other folks who have been doing some interesting research on this. The whole transformer work that was done by Google has really provided us the platform in which this whole GenAI can take a leap forward. How can you train it with your own models? How can you fine-tune them and create inferences that are suited for your business? On top of that, you see what are the AI solutions that are in play. There are a plenitude of them in the market space, from your ability to create text. They're talking about synthetic text and how real knowledge versus synthetic knowledge, how they are all getting clubbed together is an interesting conversation that's out there. And we saw that play out in the recent presidential election as well. But there are multitude of content that's getting created in the market space, from video generation to photos to text to the ability to condense synopsis that needs to be created, meeting minutes. All that is feasible today. But what is most important is what are we doing about it? There's a wide spectrum of opportunities that are available for us. From buying something, this is like the traditional buy versus build conversation that organizations have always had with whatever they were looking to buy or to build. From SaaS providers, there are some names that are out there in the bottom there you can read through, who are providing out-of-the-box solutions for the solutions that they were already selling, to developing everything custom. There is a spectrum that is available. And it's our job in the IT field and as IT leaders in our business to choose what's the right place for us to begin this journey. It's not anymore a question of should I wait for it to mature. The technologies are fast evolving. It's moving quite at a high pace. What are we going to do about it? How can I get onto the bandwagon to see where it is helping me? Whether it is a buy decision on the left-hand side or build everything from the ground up. Regardless of where you are, you need to be part of this interesting action that's happening in the marketplace. Many of our clients, what we see is they are somewhere in the middle. They want to be able to leverage the LLMs that are available in the marketplace, but they want to fine-tune it with their own data. And developing solutions based on RAG technologies is something that many of our clients are interested as the first step or a foray into AI solutions. Now I'm stepping into some of the use cases. There are 4 or 5 of them that I have here in this deck here. And if time permits, I will also show some of the use cases that are listed here as a demo as well. The first use case is about, this is the first thing that we did even before we expanded our portfolio, is to do the code migration. We had certain assets, legacy assets, let me call it that way, that needed upgrade from one JDK level, one Python level to the higher level for a variety of reasons. One, they have been around for over a decade. Nobody really touched it. Nobody really wanted to touch it. They didn't know what was happening there. Should I even touch it? What if it breaks? Who will manage, maintain it? This is a similar kind of conversation I've heard in the other languages as well. For example, there are millions, perhaps even billion lines of code of COBOL that is lying in many places. How do you move them or migrate them to your newer technology platforms is a question that lots of people and lots of companies are doing their business on. But there are tools available today. And what we did with our Java versions is one example. This was a internal pilot work that we did. Is it feasible to go from a lower end of the JDK? There were certain limits that we had to deal with, but we worked on it to see how we can go to the latest or whatever was allowed at the time. And within a span of about 6 weeks, we were able to train our models to be able to do this. There were 2 pieces of work that we had to do. There were LLMs that was available in the public forum. How do we integrate with that? And how do we integrate our repository with that? So there were actions that were taking place on both ends. We were very quickly able to upgrade the code. Now, we started out with 2 applications. We ended up doing it for over 25 of them over a period of time. And that process is still going on. We have expanded the portfolio of how can we look into more languages, more code bases and whatnot. Similar is the work that we did on Python as well. And this is an ongoing project which started out as a skunkworks with a couple of developers and a few of us has quickly expanded into an organization-wide initiative with clearly marked return on investment. You can see some of the savings that we have had. Here I want to put a couple of caveats here. It's not just about the migration work. It's about testing the work that has been migrated. How do you ensure that it hasn't broken anything? It hasn't broken anything upstream or downstream, or it will not do any damage that we didn't anticipate. So there's a lot of testing and some amount of code migration work that we had to do. But we were able to automate much of them and have these people redeployed in other places. This is a work that we did with our European client. The challenge there was, how do you manage the customer service emails that were coming in from multiple channels? And they had about 250K worth of mails coming globally into them. They had 3 buckets of activities. One was first to look at the mail, read that, human, and be able to classify them, attach the knowledge repositories that they have, and then send it to somebody to collate that and then create a summary. And the third step in the process was verifying it, reviewing it, ensuring that it adheres to the language, it adheres to the company policies, so on and so forth. So there was this policy adherence review. There was this collation and creation review. And then the first one was how do you even categorize them? We were able to take what used to take about 7 business days for them with over 100 employees doing this, and that was growing. The numbers were only growing, and it was a repetitive work that people weren't enjoying as much. You can see the savings that you see on the right-hand side there. We were able to maximize the productivity of the overall organization that they had, and they were able to respond back within a single day. Sometimes it was taking 2 days because of the review process, but they were even able to cut it down, as I learned last week, that it is becoming from 1 to 2 days to half a day to a day. So our client is quite happy. They're now looking to expand this not only just for the emails, but also to their call center, and how can we have voice capabilities that can help them move this ball further along. So this is a very good success story with our European client. And here, I didn't get into the details here, but there were also some language-related work that we had to do. They were in the Central Europe with multiple languages that they had to support, and we were able to successfully do that in the email management as well. The third one is a internal work that we did. This is about the knowledge repository. One of the challenges that we had internally within our organization is how do you expose the knowledge that was sitting in PDF document, Word document, whatever repositories that you can think of. How do you make them queryable by the employees in a fashion in which they were able to quickly get to the answer they want, and instead of having to open a ticket to get to an expert who can provide that answer for them. What we did was to build this was based on RAG architecture in the sense that there were 4 or 5 different asset repositories that we had, 4 or 5 different kinds of assets that we had to look at in terms of the format, from the PDF documents to Excel spreadsheets to code, everything in between. We built those adapters. We put them all into RAG databases. A RAG database is a database that sits on top of the LLMs. Just to give you a very quick high-level overview, wherein the data can be contained within the organization and doesn't have to really go into a LLM for a public exposure. We built that quickly. It took us about 3 months to create a POC to production journey. And it's started out with just 1 data repository, knowledge repository. Now it's on to 5. From 1 kind of a format to 7 different kinds of formats. It continues to grow and gain strong foothold internally. Initially, we had rolled it out to a limited set of users within our the CIO office. Now it's rolled out across many functions. And the number here says it's 600 users. It's much beyond 600 users now, maybe a couple of thousand users. This one is about a different kind of architecture wherein it can work as an assistant for our employees. This was a work that we did internally within our organization and also with our clients. There were two of this work that we did for our clients in APAC region, and there is one that is currently underway in Americas as well. Here it is about doing all of the stuff that I talked about earlier in terms of the knowledge repositories, but also go assist the employee in terms of ability to log into a system and work on your behalf. If you needed to, in spite of all the search that you did and the knowledges that you have raised, you need to open a ticket, or you needed to do something in some of the systems, can an AI assistant do it for you? Here the difference is, yes, it will work within an organization, but it will also do the work on behalf of an employee. So this was about integrating it with the systems of record of your organization. So what we were able to do here was look at all the knowledge repositories, and if the employee requires, we were able to do the work on behalf of the employee into a systems of record, into a system on their behalf, because everything was managed within the overall ecosystem of what we were doing internally. This was built on RAG technologies, and this was also built on technologies that will also integrate with our systems of record. Here you can see what it was able to do. It reduced the workload on the IT help desk. It reduced the work for employees in terms of their experience of having to log into multiple systems of record. It was able to provide them with a single user interface through which they were able to query, understand the status, and move in very quickly to creating a ticket if they required. And if they needed to update something, all of that was we were able to do from a chat interface as well. I just gave a glimpse of some of the work that we have done in the last 6 quarters. And the journey has been, whether it is 18 months or 2 years, it's been compressed. The learning has been quite vast. We have been able to work with many of our clients and see different kinds of patterns emerging in terms of the architecture. That's a technology conversation. But more importantly, from in terms of experiences or challenges, we see some constant theme across our clients. And some of them are listed here. I'm not going to read through all of this here, but it's important to know that organizational culture, the talent within the organization, and the culture in terms of AI adoption is a critical component for success. As long as people were working at this as a POC or a proof of technology, things were well contained within the IT organization. But when you have to implement this across organization, particularly across multiple geographies and culture, there is definitely a employee onboarding into the AI journey is important. And that's one of the critical factor that came again and again in our conversations externally with our clients and internally as well. So this needs to be managed as a change management that we need to think of and use the right tools and techniques to get the employees on board. Data privacy is by far the biggest challenge that we have heard of. Here, it's not just about the data that's out there in our legacy systems and how do we expose them. It's about what did the legacy data represent? Are there ethical practices, or if the data that we are giving to the AI solutions has some bias information, the AI solutions are going to replicate them in real world moving forward as well. How do you manage them? How do you ensure there is privacy? And also the right set of data, the quality of data, how do you inspect them and how do you manage them on an ongoing basis is equally important. And the one that's in the middle is about challenges around the budget. As long as things were in an experimental mode, it was okay, it was contained within an organization. But as things evolve and move into production, as AI solutions scale, it's important to work on what we call as return on investment. Now, we would do it for anything that we do as a business. It's equally important in this case as well. If you're putting down a budget for your AI solutions, think of what is the anticipated return that you're looking for in a qualitative fashion or quantitative. Quantitative would be better, but where it's not feasible, at least write down a few bullets to start with in terms of what are the expectations you have for them. Some of the key considerations as you look to having AI infused in your business, it's about integration. Are you going to look at AI solutions as standalone, or are they going to be part of your overall existing process? Or are you coming up with your new process? How are you integrating humans and systems to work together? So there is quite a bit of work to do in terms of, is it systems? Is it systems with humans? And how do they fit into the overall ecosystem? And what are the skills gap? I talked about culture in the earlier slide, but skill gap is equally important. This domain is fast evolving. Technologies are changing. The tools that we started this whole AI journey with 6 quarters back are not the same. All of the cloud providers and some of the open source software that is available, they all have matured at a breakneck speed in the last 6 quarters, and they continue to do so. There was I think it's happening this week, Amazon is announcing a whole slew of new tools for multiple domains as we are speaking here. So it's important that we do the catch-up game quickly and have the skill gaps identified and work to address. And the rate of change is something that I mentioned already. It's important to understand the speed at which this bus is going and manage the skill gaps that organizations have. Data privacy and ethical AI are, again, as important as the solution itself. Responsible AI has got many dimensions. The bias that I mentioned earlier to some of the governance requirement that various states and countries are putting. Europe has certain laws. They are leading in this space in terms of some of the governance aspect. In US, the state of California has come up with some responsible AI requirements. It's important to understand what those are in the geographies in which you operate and be responsible for them. Some key takeaways from today. You start with why are you doing your AI solutions? As you move beyond the POCs and proof of technologies, it's important to understand what is my business requirement, what is the return on investment, have that clarity as you begin your projects. And understand where the technology is today and where your skills are internally, and how do you bridge them, and what are the steps that you can take to effectively run these projects. Bringing your employees on board is equal. We talked about the culture earlier, so do not underestimate the organizational change and the cultural impact these kinds of solutions will have. Selecting the right platform, the landing zone as they call it, is important in terms of how do you build them. There are a spectrum of choices available, whether you do everything within your data center, whether you go for a private cloud, or whether you go for some of the public cloud. Is it open source versus, and what are some of the cost implications of that, not only just for when you get started now, beyond that, on an ongoing basis, the day two operations as they call it, how do you manage that? Overall understanding is important. Last but not the least, it's about, again, reinforcing within your organization how to use AI in a responsible fashion. It's tempting to put stuff out there. It is tempting to create something quick and dirty, but the implications are far and wide, because once the data goes outside, it lives there forever, even if you do any damage control there. So it's important as you step into this game, do it in a responsible fashion. That's all I have, and we do have about a couple of minutes, so I'm not going to be able to get to the demo that I thought I would be able to. But if there are any questions or comments, I can take a couple.
First off, really good use cases. Thanks for doing that. My question is, from your vantage point, with as fast as everything is going, particularly with the new RAG architectures and the maturation of the LLMs, and there's a lot of people chasing the data privacy problem and trying to solve that. Where would you rank the risk profile of somebody making very large investments, creating essentially bespoke solutions that you went through, which is obviously what you and your team are enabling for folks, versus the problem getting solved at a product level whereby it's essentially throwaway code or throwaway investment in the near term? Do you think that that's because there's a lot of folks in that hallway that are chasing that exact thing from a product side versus creating custom environments that then they have to maintain on a go-forward basis. So I'm curious what your thoughts are. Is this the long-term way things are going to be doing things, or is it going to be a transitionary period until others solve it at the product level? Thank you.
Thanks for your question. I'm going to summarize this in my head as a buy versus build decision. And where do you stand? What are some of the observations there? Each of them has its own plus and minuses. In the traditional world, people take SAP modules as an example, right? There are people who use SAP solutions out of the box. There are people who do a heavy customization and then feel the heat of how am I going to keep up with whatever is happening as SAP moves to HANA or the newer modules. The similar kind of challenges will exist here as well. The product vendors are not going to sit idle. They are going to put an AI wrapper around their solution for their own, what shall I say, survival or for their own existence, like we are already seeing several people do. And there are going to be people who think that, hey, my requirements are unique. I need to build everything ground up. This kind of a conversation and the chasm will continue to exist, and there can be some very heated conversations or sides that people take in this one. In my opinion, just not in AI, but in the other technologies that I worked on, the reality lies somewhere in between. How do you effectively manage? I look at this as the time value money conversation. What are the monies that your organization has to invest? What is the time it has got? And what is the value that you are looking to recoup from the investments of time as well as money? There is always a balance that has to be stricken. So I feel it has to be somewhere in the middle. Some of the things that you would go with buying. For example, I talked about code generation as an example. Both AWS and Microsoft has some tools that are available on a monthly subscription now. Would you use that, or would you go develop something yourself? I know there are folks who are working on specific knowledge repositories, but there are decisions like this that you have to take. My thought is you will fall somewhere in the middle. Neither go full-blown into developing something, nor buy everything off the shelf. No, I don't think it would suit for large organizations. I know I'm out of time here. The clock is blinking on me. Thanks for your time, and have a wonderful afternoon and evening. Thank you.